Now they're going to have bleed when they're doing rhythmic dosing. Make sure that you're using a good enough dose to keep that lining thin, just to make sure there is no thickening of that line. Can you use oral progesterone vaginally? Hi, I'm Dr. Valorie Davidson from the Progress Your Health podcast.
And I'm Dr. Maki from the Progress Your Health podcast. So this is a little bit more of a newer popular topic, using progesterone vaginally.
Yeah, we've used progesterone vaginally for years. Vaginal capsules. You can even use cream, which we'll do a different episode on using progesterone cream vaginally. But doing it vaginally, inserting like a vaginal capsule of progesterone can actually be really healthy for the microbiome of the uterus, the microbiome of the vaginal vault. And then it can also protect the uterine lining from getting too thick if you're doing an HRT that involves estradiol.
Yeah, and really that's what we're talking about is a woman on estrogen. How can you have to protect the uterus if she still has one. So what's the best option if a woman does not tolerate oral progesterone?
Because you're right, there is a percentage of women that do not tolerate oral progesterone. So usually when I have a patient and we're using maybe a sustained release, some women love their sustained release oral progesterone. They sleep like a baby, wake up the next morning, feel great. Then there's other women that'll say, I feel kind of groggy the next morning. Mm-hmm. And then I'll switch it to an instant release progesterone. And then if they're still having trouble tolerating that, then we'll do a vaginal capsule of progesterone.
Yeah. Now, the oral progesterone converts to what's allopregnanolone. There is a subset of women, very small subset relatively, that just does not tolerate oral progesterone. Now, the grogginess, though, I do think the grogginess part, which is why you would use oral progesterone, I think the grogginess is sometimes when they have a little bit of a sleep debt, they experience a bit more grogginess in order to kind of recuperate or sort of get themselves out of that sleep debt. And then from there, like I said, if they're still groggy after, a week, 10 days, give or take, then it just might not be, they just can't tolerate.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can kind of work with the patient. In fact, I have a patient where I do a lot of rhythmic dosing where you're changing the estradiol levels throughout the 28-day cycle to mimic like an ovarian cycle, and then you put the progesterone in. And I have a few of them that they just can't tolerate that progesterone orally. I might use a cream, which we'll do another podcast.
Yeah, that's another topic
too. That's a good one. But I do actually with the rhythmic dosing, if I will do more of the progesterone capsules vaginally for a lot of women. Now they're going to have bleed when they're doing rhythmic dosing, which is great. We want to have that monthly cycle when you're doing rhythmic dosing HRT. Now, someone that's on static dosing and you're using a vaginal capsule of progesterone, you do want to make sure that you're using a good enough dose to keep that lining thin. And then, some women, I might even send them in for a transvaginal ultrasound every so often just to make sure there is no thickening of that lining.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want, we use those terms back and forth, static dosing, rhythmic dosing. Rhythmic dosing encourages a period. Static dosing, bleeding. Bleeding is not really an option. You can't continue to keep bleeding when you're on static dosing. That's the whole point of using the progesterone. The number one rule, granted I'm getting a little off topic here, but the number one rule for HRT is you never give a woman unopposed estrogen. Okay, that's the whole point of us talking about progesterone. And just trying to find the right option for them as far as the progesterone dose and form, oral, vaginal, whatever, or cream, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and so of course, this is for education, not for medical advice, but you can get progesterone capsules. If you use a compounding pharmacy, you can pretty much get any dose that you want. Now, if you're using more of a big box pharmacy, there's only a couple of doses. That's the 100, the 200, and some of those big box, the big box pharmacy for the progesterone might have peanut oil in there. So if someone's allergic to peanuts, you do not want to put that inside your vagina.
Yeah, right.
That would not be good. But you can always, and then sometimes women, I always say put it in at night. If you're going to insert that progesterone capsule vaginally, put it in at night, maybe wear a little panty liner, because there can be a little bit of discharge or oily or white discharge depending on what type of progesterone you're using. If you're using the big box pharmacy ones, there's going to be a little bit of like a milky, oily discharge. If you're using one where you're getting it compounded from a compounding pharmacy, you can usually kind of change up the excipients and make it a little bit more vaginal, eco-friendly. So it kind of depends on the person, because I've had some women say it made them feel a little uncomfortable or itchy, and then I will switch it over to a compounded, make sure that it's, the excipients in there are really clean. So that's one thing to think about when you're, having to use this. If you're doing it static, you're going to have to put that progesterone in every night.
Yeah. Because at that point, if you're, like I said, if you're using some form of estrogen, estradiol or Biest or something, the goal there is to protect the uterus.
Yeah. And then you're also thinking about the vaginal microbiome. Now, estrogen is beautiful for the vaginal microbiome and for the lactobacillus and whatnot, but so is progesterone, because progesterone doesn't alter the lactobacillus species that's in our vaginal vault, but sometimes some of them can change the pH. Everybody is different, but you can't really test a capsule for you can't open it up, test the pH. So one thing that I'll tell women if they're feeling like, oh, I'm a little itchy, or there's, because maybe I'm getting a yeast infection or something, or I'm getting bacterial vaginosis or something, is I'll have them actually you can buy vaginal test strips where you can test the pH of your vaginal vault. The vaginal vault really does want to be more acidic. So it's usually around 3.5, it's less than 4. So so you could always test your own vaginal vault with those strips. And if it's closer to 5, over 4.5, 5, then you know that pH is starting to change. And when that pH changes, so the vaginal vault becomes more alkaline, that pH goes up, then that causes the beneficial bacteria like the lactobacillus species to go down. So that's one thing that I kind of keep an eye on with women when they're using it vaginally.
Does that same pH change happen just from menopause in general?
It can, yeah. So if somebody, let's say, aside from progesterone, HRT, all that, they're going into menopause, that estrogen is declining, it does change the species, because that estrogen really does feed the lactobacillus. It helps the mucosa, the vaginal vault, stay really nice and hydrated. It helps with that lubrication. It helps with the tissue resiliency. Is when that estrogen goes down, it's like, that lactobacillus doesn't have the most beautiful environment to live in. So you will see that change. Same with women in perimenopause when their progesterone starts to go, because that's one hallmark of perimenopause is that progesterone starts to drop, pretty good. And then you'll see the estrogen bouncing around. Then they might have, some issues with that vaginal vault. And that's where sometimes we'll do the progesterone vaginally with perimenopausal women too.
Yeah, right. Now we're going to do a separate one on this, but this is also why you hear a lot of talk about using estrogen to control UTIs. Now, what about progesterone? Does progesterone have sort of a beneficial impact that way, or are we just using progesterone basically to offset the estrogen for the most part?
Usually, when you're using the progesterone vaginally and someone has a uterus, you're using it to protect the uterus because they can't tolerate the oral progesterone.
And they don't have a choice. They have to use some form of progesterone, which we're trying to get across.
Yeah, so you're bypassing that first pass liver. I think they call this more of a first pass uterine. So you're using it more uterus rather than having that progesterone have to go through the liver if you're taking it orally. So you're really trying to protect that uterus. But women will also tell me that they feel good on that progesterone vaginally. I'm not sure how much, clinical science or research or studies are out there about how, vaginal progesterone can help the mood, but someone will say, oh, I feel so much better on it this way. I'm not groggy anymore. I have some women that take oral progesterone and they get anxious. They get very anxious. So then you definitely want to, switch from that oral to something else. And that's where I feel like the vaginal application, using it, an oral vaginal capsule is really nice to get that dose in there.
Yeah. Right from the pharmacy, if need be, a woman could just use it right from the pharmacy. It doesn't have to be an actual suppository or anything like that. It could just be, intended to be oral, but she can use it vaginally.
Yeah, like I had a patient the other day. She really just couldn't tolerate that. She was just too tired the next morning, even a little depressed. And this is not a depressed person. She's so lively, so beautiful, but she's not. She's like, I felt depressed. I'm starting to feel depressed. I said, well, take those capsules I have prescribed for you and use them vaginally. And then we can always change up the dosage, because there's not as much clinical research on progesterone vaginally, using an oral progesterone vaginally, like for protecting the uterine lining, as there is, as oral progesterone.
Yeah.
That's been around forever. People have been using oral progesterone to protect the lining of the uterus for many years. So, of course, there's going to be more studies on that. But there are a few out there. There's a good amount of research saying that using an oral progesterone into the vagina can be uterine protective. I mean, so there is some information out there. I do feel like for me, and someone's using estrogen, I never go lower. Like I said, this is not medical advice, this is education, but I never go lower than 100 milligrams per vaginal capsule or progesterone oral. They're using it vaginally. Some women, I'll go up to 200. We can do 125, 150 if you're using a compounding pharmacy. So you can change it up a little bit, but I usually don't go lower than that unless somebody's in perimenopause, they're not taking any estrogen, and we're really using it for other issues.
Yeah. The good thing is, especially when you bring in the compounding pharmacy side, is that you have lots of options, lots of dosing options, and finding one that actually, that matches the patient and their tolerance level.
But the big box pharmacies are good too. It just, you want to know, you only have two dosings, the 100 and the 200, and they're all instant release. If you're going to use oral vaginal progesterone you want to use an instant release. There's not any reason to use a sustained release vaginally, because that's meant for going into the digestion. But if you do use a big box pharmacy, some people don't have access to compounding, or there's financial cost issues there, is just making sure that some of the excipients in there aren't bothering your vaginal microbiome, right, and that you're not allergic to peanuts. So that, that would be something. That's why I'll tell women, just test your vaginal pH. It's really easy. And then you'll know if that vaginal, oral progesterone that you're putting in vaginally is disrupting it. You'll know right away. Because sometimes, because I do feel like progesterone is really nice for the vaginal vault, just like estrogen is.
Yeah, of course. So it just gives more options, right? Because unfortunately, when it comes to medicine of any sort, there's not one option that solves everything for everyone. Now, granted, I will say that usually oral progesterone is usually pretty well tolerated, but this is, this gives women another option that if they're using estrogen therapy at the same time, which that's what we're talking about, they have to do one of those options.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have so many different variabilities for women. Like there's creams, there's troches, there's vaginal capsules, there's oral, there's so many different ways to do HRT. It's really tailoring it for that specific individual. And one thing I will say is, you have to do a lot at night. I got to take off my makeup, wash my face, and do all, brush my teeth and floss. It's like, oh, I have to do this vaginal oral progesterone. If you like it that way and you put it as part of your routine, it works perfectly. Mm-hmm. But then I have some women, I'm like, okay, we're using this vaginally. Did you forget? Yes, I did. Then I'm like, then we got to get back to the drawing board on this, because if you're on static dosing, you want to use that every day. And I will say, I do. In theory, it sounds great. It just is, how are we going to put that into our life?
Yeah.
Now, one question that I get asked often is, well, let's say I'm going to bed, I insert that oral vaginal capsule or insert that oral capsule into my vagina, and just spontaneously me and my partner want to have intercourse. So, and as a male, with a male partner, is something going to happen to him? Is he going to touch the progesterone? Is something going to happen to me? Am I not going to absorb it? I usually say, don't worry about it. Nothing's going to happen to your male partner. But, you can always do another capsule afterwards, just in case, some of that progesterone that was supposed to go into the lining hadn't been absorbed quite quickly enough, right, or just wait till the next day. One day is not going to mess it up. But that is kind of one of those logistical questions that people ask a lot.
Men are big babies when it comes to estrogen and progesterone. We have to be much more concerned. This is a whole nother topic. We have to be much more concerned about men's testosterone getting on the women. If they're using a transdermal cream, that's a much bigger deal. Women, kids, and pets are the ones you have to be careful with. But it going the other way, the hormones for men from women getting on men is not that big of a deal.
No, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like I said,
it's funny.
This is for education.
Sure. All right, so we'll wrap this one up. Oral progesterone, using it vaginally is a perfectly good option for some. So if you have any comments, you can just write them down below if you feel comfortable. Otherwise, you and I will,
see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time on the next episode. So till next time, I'm Dr. Maki.
I'm Dr. Valorie. Take care.
Bye-bye.